In northern Northampton County, just north of Bangor, sits the borough of Roseto. Incorporated in 1912, it was the first 100% Italian borough in the United States. But how did Roseto get its name? For What's in a Name, I'm Mike Flynn. I'm standing in front of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Roman Catholic Church on the south end of Roseto, pronounced Rosetta by its residents. Since the church sits on the line between Roseto and Bangor, churchgoers like to say that the Mass is given in Rosetta but heard in Bangor. This impressive structure was finished in 1925, but the congregation dates back to 1893. The builders were Italian immigrants from Roseto Valfortore, Italy, which lies 170 miles southeast of Rome. In the late 19th century, in search of more opportunity, a small number of Rosetans left Italy for America. They found this opportunity in the slate quarries in this area of eastern Pennsylvania. Soon they were joined by family members and friends, and by the 1890s they settled here. At first they called their village New Italy, but because they replicated in many respects their hometown in Italy, it soon took the name Roseto. The new town resembled Old Roseto, and soon a close-knit society emerged, with Italian spoken as the primary language. They even named the main street Garibaldi Avenue after the great Italian general who helped unify Italy. Roseto remained a tucked-away, quiet town throughout the first half of the 20th century. And then, in the 1960s, everything changed. In the late 1950s, a physician from the University of Oklahoma with ties to the area named Stuart Wolf was giving a lecture nearby. He heard that people in Roseto had lower rates of heart disease than residents of nearby towns. He wanted to find out why. The results of his study became known as the Roseto Effect. He concluded that close family ties and cohesive community relationships contributed to longevity. To better understand the Roseto Effect, I spoke with Dr. Judith Lasker, Professor Emerita in Sociology and Anthropology at Lehigh University. She earned her BA at Brandeis and her MA and PhD at Harvard. Hello, Judith. Thanks for agreeing to meet with me.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here and talking about Roseto, which is a topic I worked on many years ago.
Could you explain the Roseto Effect?
I think what was important in their study was that they tried very hard to rule out other logical factors in lower heart disease. So looking at diet, they found that the diets were not that different. Looking at smoking, looking at drinking, they found that comparing Rosetans to people in other towns, the usual risk factors that we think of were not that different. But there was a big difference in the type of social life people had and the community they had, and so they concluded that that was certainly an important contributor to people's longevity.
So the study concluded that the strong social connections in Roseto led to better health. But what would happen when these cohesive community relationships faded in the 1960s and 70s as the town became more heterogeneous and young people began to reject the old ways? In the early 1980s, Dr. Lasker, Stuart Wolf, and others conducted a follow-up study on the Roseto Effect. They looked at death certificates and other demographic records over a 60-year period.
The results of that were what we had kind of hypothesized, and they supported the idea of a Roseto Effect. What they showed was that Rosetans' advantage in health and in heart disease in particular was lower than Bangor's going all the way back to 1935. So from 35 to 65, it was consistently lower. 65 to 75, it went up a lot.
In late July of each year, Rosetans continue a tradition begun in 1893. Called the Big Time, it's a 5-day celebration in which many Rosetans who have moved away come back and reconnect with family and friends. A queen is crowned, and there's a fireworks display Saturday night. And on Sunday morning, community members march down Garibaldi Avenue reciting the Rosary in honor of the Virgin Mary. And although the homogeneity of Roseto is gone, the power of community that put Roseto on the map is still very much alive. For What's in a Name, I'm Mike Flynn in Roseto.